They say you never really know someone until you see them at their worst. I used to think that was just something bitter people told themselves after a bad breakup. Now I know better. Now I understand that the person sleeping next to you for 15 years can be a complete stranger. That the woman who promised to stand by you through sickness and health can become someone you don't recognize. That love, real or imagined, can curdle into something toxic when mixed with selfishness and opportunity. My name is David Patterson, and this is the story of how my marriage imploded in the most spectacular fashion imaginable. Not with a whimper, not with a quiet drift apart, but with a nuclear detonation that left radioactive fallout across every aspect of my life. This isn't a tale of redemption or forgiveness. This isn't one of those stories where everyone learns valuable lessons and becomes better people. This is about betrayal, consequences, and what happens when someone pushes a decent man too far. I was a good husband. Not perfect, nobody is, but good. I worked hard as a senior project manager at a construction firm, pulling in a solid six-figure salary. I came home every night. I didn't gamble, didn't have a drinking problem, didn't chase other women. I remembered birthdays and anniversaries. I helped with housework. I was present for my kids. I thought I was doing everything right. My wife, Jennifer Patterson, was a real estate agent. Successful, driven, beautiful. We met in college, married at 25, and built what I believed was a solid life together. Two kids, Emily, 13, and Jacob, 10. A four-bedroom house in a nice suburb of Phoenix, Arizona. Two cars, a golden retriever, the whole American dream package. Looking back now, I can see the cracks I ignored. The way Jennifer became increasingly distant around year 12. How she started dressing differently, working later, guarding her phone like it contained nuclear launch codes. But I trusted her. I believed in us. I believed in the vows we'd taken and the life we'd built. That trust, that belief, would prove to be my greatest mistake. What I'm about to tell you happened over the course of 18 months, from the first moment of discovery to the final resolution. It's a story about how quickly everything you've built can crumble, about how the legal system works when a marriage dissolves, about how people show their true colors when money and custody are on the line, and about how a man who's been pushed to his limit can methodically, carefully, and legally ensure that justice is served. This isn't fiction. This is my life. These are the events exactly as they happened, documented, verified, and ultimately presented in court. Every text message, every financial transaction, every lie, all of it recorded and preserved. Because if there's one thing I learned from this nightmare, it's that documentation is everything. Evidence is king, and patience, combined with meticulous planning, can turn the tables in ways that impulsive anger never could. So here it is, the complete, unfiltered account of how my wife destroyed our marriage and how I made absolutely certain she paid for every single choice she made. March 15th started like any other Tuesday. I woke up at 6, went for my usual morning run, showered, and got ready for work. Jennifer was already up, getting the kids ready for school. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed fine. "Don't forget Emily has soccer practice at 4, Jennifer said as I grabbed my coffee. "I've got a showing in Scottsdale that'll run late." "I'll handle it," I said, kissing her cheek. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. I noticed, but didn't think much of it. She'd been stressed lately, closing several big deals. Work was busy. We were overseeing a commercial development downtown, and the contractor was behind schedule. I spent most of the day on site, dealing with subcontractors and reviewing blueprints. My phone died around 2 in the afternoon. I'd forgotten to charge it the night before. When I got home at 3:30 to take Emily to practice, I plugged my phone into the kitchen charger and went upstairs to change. That's when I heard it. A notification chime. Then another. Then several more in rapid succession. I came back downstairs to check, thinking maybe there was an emergency at work. The phone was still charging. The screen lit up with notifications. But they weren't from work. They were text messages. From Jennifer's phone. Except Jennifer was supposed to be at a showing in Scottsdale. The first message read, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Told him I have a late showing." My stomach dropped. I picked up the phone, my hands suddenly shaking. The messages were coming to my phone because, and this detail would later prove crucial, we'd set up message forwarding years ago when Jennifer was pregnant with Jacob. She'd been having complications and wanted me to be able to see any messages from her doctor immediately. We'd never turned it off. I scrolled up. The conversation had been going on for weeks. Months, actually. The contact was saved as Brandon K. I didn't know any Brandon. Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. When are you going to leave him? I'm tired of sneaking around. Soon, baby, I promise. I just need to figure out the financial situation first. The drive to Emily's soccer practice passed in a blur. I remember gripping the steering wheel, knuckles white, while she chattered about some drama with her friend Madison. I made the appropriate sounds. Uh-huh. Really? But I couldn't have repeated a single thing she said if my life depended on it. Those messages kept scrolling through my mind like a stock ticker. Can't wait to see you tonight. Tell David you have a late showing. The casual cruelty of it. The practiced deception. I dropped Emily off at the field, watched her jog toward her teammates, ponytail swinging. She turned and waved. I waved back, and something in my chest cracked a little wider. I had 2 hours. The house was empty when I got back. Jacob was at a friend's place until dinner. Jennifer wouldn't be home until, well, until whenever she was actually done with whatever she was actually doing. The silence felt different now. Accusatory. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and started doing what I do best, gathering information, building a case, documenting everything. First, I forwarded those text messages to my personal email. Then I took screenshots. Then I backed up the screenshots to 3 different cloud services. Paranoid? Maybe. But I'd spent 15 years in project management, and the first rule of any critical project is redundancy. Never rely on a single point of failure. Next, I opened a new document and started a timeline. March 15th, 4:47 p.m. Discovery of affair via text messages. I went back through my phone, scrolling through weeks of forwarded messages I'd ignored or deleted. Most were mundane. Appointment reminders, grocery lists, messages from her mother. But now I was looking with different eyes. February 28th. Running late, showing went long. February 23rd. Don't wait up. Client wants to see 3 more properties. February 14th. Valentine's Day, for God's sake. So sorry, emergency showing. Make it up to you tomorrow. I'd believed every single one. How far back did this go? I expanded my search, checking our phone records online. Jennifer's usage had spiked around 4 months ago, November. Hundreds of text messages to a number I didn't recognize. I copied the number into my document, then ran it through a reverse lookup service. Brandon Kaplan, age 34, Phoenix resident. And there was his LinkedIn profile. Senior Vice President at Westridge Financial Group. I stared at his photo. Good-looking guy, I suppose. Strong jaw, expensive suit, that particular smile of someone who's used to getting what he wants. Younger than me by 8 years. More successful, probably. His company bio mentioned he'd been featured in Arizona Business Magazine's 40 Under 40 last year. Of course. My phone buzzed. Jennifer. Running behind, won't be home until 7. Can you handle dinner? I typed back, no problem. Added a heart emoji, just like I always did. The duplicity of it made my stomach turn, but I was already thinking 3 steps ahead. She couldn't know that I knew. Not yet. I needed time to understand the full scope of this, to prepare, to protect myself and the kids. Evidence is king. I'd learned that from a custody case one of my colleagues went through 5 years ago. His ex-wife had blindsided him, filed first, controlled the narrative. He'd been scrambling ever since, fighting for every weekend, every holiday. I wasn't going to make that mistake. I opened a new browser tab and started researching divorce attorneys in Phoenix. Not the ones with the flashy billboards. I needed someone thorough, someone who understood complex financial situations. Jennifer made good money, but it was inconsistent. My income was steady, documented, provable. That mattered for custody. I bookmarked 5 firms, then cleared my browser history. By 6 o'clock, I'd created a detailed folder structure on a USB drive: financial records, communication logs, timeline, legal research. I downloaded our last 3 years of tax returns, bank statements, credit card bills. I'd started a list of questions. How long? How serious? Is she planning to marry him? What has she told him about me, about the kids? That last one burned. What version of our marriage had she sold to Brandon Kaplan? Was I the neglectful husband? The workaholic who didn't appreciate her? The boring middle-aged guy who couldn't satisfy her anymore? I caught myself spiraling and stopped. Speculation wasn't useful. Facts were useful. I picked up Jacob at 6:30, listened to him talk about the video game he'd played with his friend Tyler. We stopped at Chipotle for dinner, Emily's favorite, and I tried to be present, to focus on my kids instead of the betrayal churning in my gut. Jennifer got home at 7:15, breezing through the door with her real estate smile firmly in place. Sorry I'm late. That showing was a nightmare. The sellers hadn't disclosed the water damage in the master bathroom, and my clients were furious. The lie came so easily. So practiced. That sounds stressful, I said, and meant it in a way. Maintaining a double life had to be exhausting. She kissed my cheek, a habit, nothing more, and I didn't flinch. How was your day? The usual. Project deadlines, subcontractor issues. All true. I'd actually had a productive afternoon, despite everything. Compartmentalization is a useful skill. We ate dinner together, the four of us around the table like we had 1,000 times before. Emily complained about her math teacher. Jacob demonstrated his new ability to burp the alphabet, which earned him a lecture from Jennifer about table manners. Normal. Perfectly, painfully normal. I watched Jennifer across the table, laughing at something Emily said, and tried to reconcile this woman with the one sending those messages. I need you. Can't stop thinking about this afternoon. How did she do it? How did she sit here, helping Jacob with his homework, asking about my day, all while planning her exit strategy? After dinner, after the kids were in bed, we sat on the couch watching some crime procedural neither of us cared about. Jennifer scrolled through her phone, texting him probably, right in front of me. The audacity was almost impressive. I'm thinking about going to that real estate conference in San Diego next month, she said during a commercial break. It's 3 days, April 18th through 20th. Good networking opportunity. Sure, I said. When do you need to book it? Already did. Hope that's okay. Early bird pricing ended today. I wondered if Brandon Kaplan would be at this conference. I wondered if there even was a conference or if she'd just invented it whole cloth. Sounds good, I said. I can handle things here. She smiled, relieved. You're the best. The best. Right? That night, lying in bed next to her, I stared at the ceiling and did the math. April 18th was 5 weeks away. 5 weeks to gather evidence, to consult with attorneys, to understand my options. 5 weeks to prepare for the nuclear detonation of my life. Jennifer's breathing evened out beside me, and I knew she was asleep. Probably dreaming about him. About her new life. The one that didn't include me except as an obstacle to be managed. A financial situation to be resolved. I got up quietly, went to my office, and started making notes. Every detail I could remember from the past year. Every late night, every work emergency, every time she'd pulled away when I'd reached for her hand. Building the case, documenting the evidence. Because here's what I'd learned in 15 years of marriage and 20 years of project management. Preparation beats passion every time. Jennifer might have had the element of surprise, but I had something better. I had time she didn't know I had. And I was going to use every single second of it. The next morning, I woke up at 5:47 a.m., 13 minutes before my alarm. Jennifer was still asleep beside me, her breathing steady and peaceful. I watched her for maybe 30 seconds, this woman I'd shared a bed with for 15 years, and felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no sadness. Just a cold, clinical detachment, like I was looking at a stranger who'd broken into my house and decided to take a nap. I got up, showered, dressed, made coffee. The routine felt mechanical, but that was good. Mechanical meant controlled. Mechanical meant I wasn't going to do anything stupid. Jennifer came downstairs at 6:52, already dressed for work in a navy blazer and cream blouse. She smiled at me, that same warm smile I'd fallen for in college, and poured herself coffee. "You're up early," she said. "Couldn't sleep. Big presentation next week." A lie? But fair play, right? She'd been lying for months. I was just catching up. She kissed my cheek before leaving. "Love you." "You too," I said automatically. The words tasted like ash. At work, I went through the motions, attended a meeting about the Riverside project, reviewed contractor bids, sent emails. My assistant, Kelly, asked if I was feeling okay. Apparently, I looked off. I told her I was fighting a cold. Another lie. I was getting good at this. During lunch, I sat in my car in the parking garage and made my first real move. I called the law firm I'd researched the night before. Brennan and Associates, specialists in high-asset divorce and custody cases. The receptionist put me through to Tyler Brennan himself after I mentioned the nature of my situation. "Mr. Patterson," Brennan said. His voice was calm, measured. "Tell me what's going on." I gave him the abbreviated version. Discovered wife's affair yesterday. Extensive text evidence. 2 minor children. Concerned about custody and asset protection. Need guidance on next steps. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "First question. Have you confronted your wife?" "No." "Good. Don't. Not yet." I heard papers shuffling. "Second question. Do you have copies of the evidence stored somewhere she can't access or delete?" "Multiple cloud backups. USB drive in my office desk." "Excellent. You're ahead of most people who call me." More shuffling. "I have an opening tomorrow at 4. Can you make that?" I checked my mental calendar. Nothing I couldn't move. "Yes." "Bring everything you have, print it if possible. We'll go through it together and map out a strategy." He paused. "Mr. Patterson, I need to be clear about something. The next few weeks are going to be difficult. You're going to have to maintain normalcy at home while simultaneously preparing for war. Can you do that?" I thought about Jennifer's kiss that morning, her casual "love you" as she walked out the door to probably text Brandon from her car. "Yes," I said. "I can do that." "Good. See you tomorrow." That evening, Jennifer came home at 6:15 with Thai takeout. Pad Thai for me, drunken noodles for her, spring rolls for the kids. We ate dinner as a family. Emily talked about her science project on renewable energy. Jacob complained about his math teacher, Mr. Whitmore, who apparently gave too much homework. Jennifer laughed at Jacob's impression of Mr. Whitmore's monotone voice. She helped Emily brainstorm ideas for her solar panel demonstration. She was present, engaged, warm. It was a masterclass in compartmentalization. After dinner, after the kids went upstairs to do homework, Jennifer and I sat on the couch watching some crime procedural neither of us cared about. Her phone buzzed twice. She glanced at it both times but didn't pick it up. "Work?" I asked casually. "Just a client. I'll deal with it tomorrow." Another lie. I knew it was another lie because I'd spent my lunch hour, after my call with Brennan, setting up monitoring software on our phone account. Not illegal, since I was the primary account holder. The software wouldn't show me message content, but it would show me numbers, timestamps, frequency. Brandon's number had texted her 4 times since 5 p.m. I reached over and took her hand. She squeezed back, even scooted closer to me on the couch. This was the woman who was planning to leave me, who'd been sleeping with another man for months, who was figuring out the financial situation before blowing up our children's lives. And she could sit here, hold my hand, and act like everything was fine. March 16th. My appointment with Tyler Brennan. I left work at 3:30, telling Kelly I had a doctor's appointment. Not technically a lie. I was going to see someone about a sickness in my life. Just not a medical doctor. Brennan and Associates occupied the 7th floor of a downtown office building, all glass and steel and expensive-looking modern furniture. The receptionist offered me water or coffee. I took water. My mouth was dry. Tyler Brennan met me in the lobby at exactly 4 p.m. Mid-40s, graying hair, sharp suit. Firm handshake. He led me back to a conference room with a view of the Phoenix skyline. "Let's see what you've got," he said. I pulled out the folder I'd prepared. Printed screenshots of text messages, organized chronologically, phone records with Brandon's number highlighted, timeline of suspicious behavior dating back to November, financial documents, our mortgage paperwork, the kids' school records. Brennan spent 20 minutes going through everything, making notes on a legal pad. He didn't react, didn't comment, just read and wrote. Finally, he looked up. "This is solid," he said. "Very solid. Arizona is a no-fault divorce state, which means the affair itself won't impact the divorce decree, but it absolutely can impact custody arrangements if we can demonstrate poor judgment affecting the children." "She's been lying to them," I said, "telling them she's at work when she's with him." "That helps." He made another note. "Tell me about your wife's relationship with the kids, day-to-day involvement." I thought about it honestly. She's a good mother. She helps with homework, goes to their games and recitals, makes their lunches. We split most of the parenting duties pretty evenly, though I handle more of the morning routine since she often has early showings. Brennan nodded. "And you? How's your relationship with them?" "Good. I coach Jacob's soccer team. I help Emily with her math homework. That's my strong suit. We do movie nights on Fridays, just the three of us, when Jennifer has evening showings." "How often does she have evening showings?" I'd already calculated this. 2 to 3 times a week on average, sometimes more. "And you have documentation of her actual work schedule versus what she's told you?" "I have her text messages saying she's at showings. I can subpoena her actual work calendar to compare." For the first time, Brennan smiled slightly. "You've done your homework, Mr. Patterson. I'm a project manager. Documentation is what I do." He leaned back in his chair. "Here's what I recommend. We have 5 weeks until her supposed conference, correct? April 18th through 20th. Use that time to build your case. Continue documenting everything. Her absences, her lies, her time away from the children. Keep copies of all financial transactions. Don't change your behavior at all. Don't give her any reason to suspect you know. And then we file. Divorce and emergency custody petition, all at once. We'll request primary physical custody based on stability and her pattern of deception. In Arizona, courts favor joint legal custody, but physical custody can be split 60-40, 70-30, even 80-20 depending on circumstances. My chest tightened. What are our chances? For primary physical custody, with this evidence and 5 more weeks of documentation? I'd say 70-30 in your favor, assuming nothing changes and you don't do anything foolish. He fixed me with a hard look. That means no confrontations, no fights, no recordings of arguments. You maintain the moral high ground completely. Can you do that? I thought about Jennifer's hand in mine last night. Her lies, her plans to leave, Brandon's texts lighting up her phone while she sat next to me. Yes, I said. I can do that. The drive home from Tyler Brennan's office took 45 minutes. Rush hour traffic on the 101, same as every Tuesday evening. I sat in the same gridlock I'd sat in 1,000 times before, watching the same SUVs merge aggressively, listening to the same radio station Jennifer and I had agreed on years ago because it played a good mix. Everything looked identical to yesterday. Nothing had changed. Except I had changed. Or maybe I'd just woken up. I pulled into our driveway at 6:47 p.m. Jennifer's white Lexus was already there. She usually finished showings by 6 on Tuesdays. Through the front window, I could see movement in the kitchen. Normal. Routine. The life we'd built together, still standing, still functional, even as I now understood it was constructed on rotted foundations. The house smelled like garlic and tomatoes when I walked in. Pasta night. "Hey," Jennifer called from the kitchen. "You're late." "Meeting ran over," I said. Not a lie. I'd become conscious of that distinction now. The difference between lying and simply not volunteering information. Traffic was bad. She appeared in the doorway, wooden spoon in hand, wearing jeans and the green sweater I'd bought her for Christmas. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She looked tired but pretty. Familiar. This was the woman I'd woken up next to for 15 years. The woman who'd held my hand in the delivery room. Twice. The woman who was planning her exit strategy with a 34-year-old finance executive. Emily's at Kayla's house. They're working on some project. Jacob's upstairs. Dinner in 20? Sounds good. I set my laptop bag down by the stairs. I'll go change. In our bedroom, I stood for a moment looking at the king-sized bed we'd picked out together at that furniture store in Scottsdale. Jennifer had insisted on the expensive mattress. We spend a third of our lives sleeping, she'd said. It's worth the investment. Investment. Everything was an investment to her. Our house, our cars. Apparently our marriage too, and she'd decided the returns weren't sufficient anymore. I changed into jeans and a t-shirt, then checked my phone. The message forwarding was still active. I'd confirmed that with Tyler. He'd advised me not to disable it, not to change anything that might alert her. Let her think she's operating in complete secrecy, he'd said. People get sloppy when they think they're safe. No new messages from Brandon K. since the ones I'd discovered yesterday. That made sense. They'd probably communicated at work today, or maybe they were being cautious. The affair had been running since November, 4 months of practice at discretion. Dinner was pleasant. That's the word that kept occurring to me. Pleasant. Jennifer had made penne with marinara sauce, garlic bread, a simple salad. Jacob talked about his science class. They were studying the solar system. He wanted to know if I thought there was life on Mars. Maybe microbes, I said, twirling pasta on my fork. Nothing advanced, probably. That's what Mr. Patterson said. My teacher, I mean, not you. Jacob grinned. That's weird that he has the same name as us. Patterson's pretty common, Jennifer said. She was picking at her salad, eating slowly. How was work, David? Fine. The Riverside project's moving forward. We're finalizing contracts with the electrical subcontractors this week. That's the strip mall, right? Mixed-use development. Retail on the ground floor, offices above. She nodded, already losing interest. We'd had versions of this conversation 100 times. I talked about projects, she talked about listings. We shared information without really communicating anything. When had that started? Or had it always been this way, and I'd just never noticed? After dinner, Jennifer went upstairs to take a bath. Jacob retreated to his room. I loaded the dishwasher, wiped down the counters, performed the small domestic rituals that constituted our evening routine. Through the ceiling, I could hear water running through the pipes. I thought about Brandon Kaplan, 34, never married, no kids. A life unencumbered by carpools and parent-teacher conferences and arguments about whose turn it was to take out the trash. What did Jennifer talk to him about? Did she complain about me? Did she tell him I was boring, predictable, stuck in my ways? Or did she just not talk about me at all? My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. Staying for dinner at Kayla's mom said, okay, right? I checked the family calendar on the fridge. Nothing noted. I texted back, your mom said yes? She said fine. I sent a thumbs-up emoji. Emily was 13, navigating that complicated transition between childhood and adolescence. She'd been quieter lately, more withdrawn. I'd attributed it to normal teenage development, but now I wondered. Kids notice things. They pick up on tension even when adults think they're hiding it. How long had Jennifer been checked out of this marriage? How long had I been living with someone who was just going through the motions? I finished the kitchen and moved to the living room, opening my laptop. I had actual work to do. The Riverside project wasn't going to manage itself, but I found myself opening a private browser window instead. Tyler had given me homework. I need you to document everything, he'd said. Her schedule, her habits, her time with the kids. Start a journal. Date and time every entry. Note when she's home, when she's not, who she says she's with, what she says she's doing. Don't be obvious about it, but pay attention. I opened a new document and titled it Daily Log. Then I paused, cursor blinking. This felt insane, paranoid, like something from a thriller movie, not real life. But this was real life now. My real life. I started typing. March 16th, 2024, 6:47 p.m. Arrived home. Jennifer already there, cooking dinner. Said she'd finish showings by 6 cows. 7:15 p.m. Dinner with Jennifer and Jacob. Emily at friend's house. Kayla. 7:45 p.m. Jennifer went upstairs for bath. Jacob to his room. 8:10 p.m. Emily texted, staying for dinner at Kayla's. Jennifer had already approved. I read it back. Mundane. Boring. The ordinary documentation of an ordinary evening. But Tyler was right. This was evidence. If it came down to a custody fight, I'd need to demonstrate that I was the involved parent, the one who knew where the kids were, what they were doing, the one who was actually present. Upstairs, the water shut off. I minimized the document and pulled up the Riverside Project files, making it look like I'd been working the whole time. A few minutes later, Jennifer came down in her robe, hair damp. "I'm exhausted," she said. "I think I'm going to read in bed for a bit." "Okay, I've got some work to finish up." She paused at the bottom of the stairs. For a moment, I thought she might say something else. Instead, she just nodded and headed up. I waited until I heard the bedroom door close, then reopened the daily log. Added, 8:35 p.m. Jennifer to bed early, said she was exhausted. Was she really tired? Or was she texting Brandon, making plans, discussing their future together while lying in the bed she shared with me? 5 weeks. Tyler had said 5 weeks until the conference, until we'd execute the plan. 35 days of pretending everything was normal. 35 days of documenting, preparing, building the case that would give me primary custody of my children and ensure Jennifer faced consequences for blowing up our family. I could do this. I'd managed construction projects with timelines spanning years, coordinating dozens of contractors, handling million-dollar budgets. I could manage 5 weeks of strategic patience. My phone buzzed. For a second, my heart jumped. Another forwarded message, but it was just a work email. The electrical contractor had questions about the Riverside plans. I answered the email, closed my laptop, turned off the lights downstairs, and headed up to bed. Jennifer was already asleep or pretending to be. She'd left the bedside lamp on for me. I changed in the bathroom, brushed my teeth, went through the motions. When I slid into bed beside her, she didn't stir. I turned off the lamp and lay in the darkness, listening to her breathe. 35 days. I could do this. The next morning started like any other. I woke at 6:15, showered, made coffee. Jennifer was already up, sitting at the kitchen island in her workout clothes, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I entered, gave me that practiced smile. "Morning," she said. "Morning. Coffee's fresh." "Thanks." She poured herself a cup, then went back to her phone. I watched her thumb move across the screen, wondered if she was texting him. Probably. The pattern had become predictable. She was most active with Brandon early morning and late evening, when I was supposedly distracted with my own routine. I ate breakfast, read the news on my tablet. We existed in the same space like roommates who'd learned to navigate around each other. Except we weren't roommates. We were married. 15 years. And she had no idea I knew everything. Emily came downstairs first, earbuds in, already lost in whatever teenage world she inhabited. Jacob followed 10 minutes later, still half asleep, his hair sticking up at odd angles. "Big social studies test today," I reminded him. He groaned. "I know." "You studied?" "Yeah, Dad. Last night." Jennifer glanced up. "I can quiz you in the car if you want." "It's fine, Mom." She shrugged, went back to her phone. I wondered if she'd remember she'd offered. If she'd even remember she was supposed to drive him. 3 days ago, she'd forgotten to pick him up from soccer practice. Told me she'd gotten caught up showing a property. I'd checked the phone records later. She'd been on the phone with Brandon for 47 minutes during that window. I documented it, added it to the log. The kids left for school. Jennifer kissed them both goodbye, told them she loved them. Maybe she did. I didn't know anymore. How do you love your children but plan to blow up their lives for a finance executive with good hair in a corner office? I've got showings this afternoon, Jennifer said after the door closed. Probably won't be home until 6. Okay. There's leftover lasagna for dinner if you want to start it. Sure. She grabbed her purse, her keys, kissed me on the cheek, brief, automatic, meaningless. Have a good day. You too. The door closed. I stood in the kitchen, listening to her car start, back out of the driveway. Then I pulled out my phone and opened the tracking app. Tyler had recommended it during our first meeting. If she's using location sharing with you, monitor it, he'd said. Document discrepancies between where she says she is and where she actually is. Jennifer and I had started sharing locations years ago. One of those couple things that seemed practical at the time. She'd never thought to turn it off. Why would she? I was supposed to be the trusting husband who never checked. I watched the blue dot that represented my wife move through Phoenix traffic. She wasn't heading toward any of her listed properties. She was heading north, toward Scottsdale, toward Brandon's office. I took a screenshot. Noted the time. 8:47 a.m. Added it to the folder. Then I went to work. My job had become an autopilot function. I showed up, attended meetings, managed timelines, responded to emails. I was good at compartmentalizing, always had been. It's what made me effective in crisis situations when projects went sideways and everyone else panicked. I could shut down the emotion, focus on the problem, execute the solution. This was just another crisis, except this one was personal. David, you with us? I blinked. Looked up. My boss, Greg, was staring at me from across the conference table. So were 4 other people. Sorry, I said. Late night. What was the question? The Henderson project timeline. Can we accelerate the Phase 2 delivery? Henderson. Couldn't use that name. My brain registered the absurdity of the thought even as I answered. We'd need to bring in additional contractors. I can run the numbers, have a proposal by Friday. Thursday would be better. Thursday then. The meeting continued. I took notes. Contributed when expected. Played the role of competent senior project manager who definitely wasn't planning to destroy his wife's affair partner's reputation in 34 days. Because that was part of the plan too. Tyler had been clear. Anything you do to retaliate against him could be used against you in custody proceedings. You need to be the stable parent, the rational one. Let his own actions speak for themselves. But I'd done my research anyway. Not to act on, not yet, but to know. To understand who I was dealing with. Brandon Kaplan, 34, Senior Vice President at Westridge Financial Group. MBA from USC. Featured in Phoenix Business Journal's 40 Under 40 last year. Divorced, no kids. His ex-wife had filed 3 years ago. I'd found the court records, public information, perfectly legal to access. The divorce had been uncontested, settled quickly. No drama. No scandal. He had a condo in Scottsdale, drove a Tesla, posted on LinkedIn about market trends and leadership strategies. His social media presence was carefully curated, professional, aspirational, empty of anything personal. He was the kind of guy who probably thought he was a good person, who justified sleeping with a married woman because she was unhappy or already emotionally divorced, or whatever story Jennifer had told him. Maybe he even believed they had a future together. I hoped he did. I hoped she'd sold him the whole fantasy. Because the higher the expectations, the harder the fall. I checked Jennifer's location again at lunch. She was at an actual property showing, one that matched her calendar. Good. She wasn't completely reckless, just reckless enough. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. Can Maddie come over after school? Sure, I'll be home by 5. Thanks, Dad. Simple, normal. The kind of exchange that happened in functional families every day. Except our family wasn't functional. It was a stage set, and I was the only one who knew the walls were made of cardboard. I ate my sandwich, reviewed project budgets, responded to emails. At 2:30, I checked the location again. Jennifer was on the move, not toward home, not toward another property, north, Scottsdale again. I took another screenshot. Tyler had given me homework. Start documenting your involvement with the kids, he'd said. School events, practices, homework help, doctor appointments, everything. We need to establish that you're the primary caregiver in practical terms, even if she's been physically present. So I'd started a second log. This one wasn't about Jennifer's lies. It was about my truth. March 15th. Helped Jacob with math homework, fractions. Discussed Emily's science project, made dinner. Supervised bedtime routine. March 16th. Attended Emily's parent-teacher conference. Jennifer canceled, said she had a showing. She was with Brandon. Drove Jacob to soccer practice. Helped with spelling words. March 17th. Made breakfast, packed lunches, drove both kids to school, picked up Jacob from practice, made dinner, reviewed Emily's English essay. The pattern was clear. I'd always been involved, but I'd assumed Jennifer was equally present. Now I was seeing the gaps. The times she'd said she was working but wasn't. The school events she'd missed. The homework sessions I'd handled alone. I'd been the primary parent for months, maybe longer. I just hadn't been keeping score. Now I was. Jennifer came home at 6:20. I was in the kitchen, reheating the lasagna like she'd suggested. Emily was upstairs with Maddie. Jacob was in the living room, building something with Legos. Hey, she said, setting her purse on the counter. Sorry I'm late. The showing ran long. No problem? She looked tired. Guilty? Or was I projecting? Hard to tell anymore. How was your day? She asked. Fine. Busy? Yours? Same. I think the Hendersons are going to make an offer on the Arcadia property. The Hendersons. There it was again. I wondered if she noticed the irony, using a name I couldn't use in my own story. That's great, I said. Yeah, good commission if it goes through. She opened the refrigerator, pulled out a bottle of wine, poured herself a glass. Want some? I'm good. She sipped her wine. Watched me set the table. Emily has a friend over? Maddie, they're doing homework. Oh, good. Silence. The kind that used to be comfortable. Now it felt like static. Jen? She looked up. Yeah? I almost asked. Almost said, Are you happy? Is this what you want? Why aren't I enough? But I didn't. Because it didn't matter. The answers wouldn't change anything. Never mind, I said. Dinner's ready. We ate together. All four of us, plus Maddie. We talked about school, about Jacob's social studies test, about Emily's upcoming track meet. Jennifer laughed at something Maddie said. Refilled her wine glass, checked her phone twice. Normal, perfectly normal. 34 days left. The San Diego conference was scheduled for April 1820. I had 3 weeks. I spent those weeks becoming someone I didn't recognize, or maybe someone I'd always been but never needed to be. Every morning I woke up next to Jennifer, kissed her goodbye, went to work, came home, helped with homework, made dinner. Normal, routine. The kind of life people post about on social media with captions about being blessed. Except I was building a case. Tyler had given me a checklist during our second meeting. Financial documentation, check. Communication records, check. Custody preparation, check. But there was one item he'd mentioned almost casually that stuck with me. If she's planning to leave, he'd said, she's probably moving money. Nobody walks away from a 15-year marriage without a safety net. I'd nodded, but I hadn't really thought about it until March 28th, when I was reviewing our bank statements for the third time. We had 3 accounts, joint checking, joint savings, and Jennifer's business account for her real estate work. I had access to all of them. We'd always been transparent about finances. One of those things married people do to show trust. The joint accounts looked normal. Mortgage payments, utilities, groceries, the usual hemorrhaging of money that comes with 2 kids and a 4-bedroom house. But Jennifer's business account had some interesting activity. Between January and March, she'd made 6 withdrawals of $4,500 each, just under the $10,000 threshold that triggers automatic reporting. The memo line said contractor payments on all of them. I pulled up her commission statements. She'd closed 4 deals in that time period, total commission around $47,000. Good quarter for her. But I also knew her business expenses, marketing materials, staging costs, photography. Those usually ran through her business credit card, which I could also see. The $27,000 in cash withdrawals didn't match any business expense I could find. I sat at my desk in the home office, the one we'd set up together 5 years ago with matching IKEA furniture and motivational prints about success. Jennifer was downstairs watching some reality show about people buying houses they couldn't afford. I could hear the TV through the floor, the manufactured drama of strangers making bad decisions. I opened a new spreadsheet, labeled it Gen Cash, started documenting every withdrawal, cross-referencing it with her work calendar, her commission deposits, her credit card statements. The pattern was obvious once I looked for it. She was building a nest egg, probably stashing it somewhere I couldn't touch, maybe with Brandon, maybe in a safe deposit box I didn't know about. Smart, really. In a divorce, cash is king if you can hide it properly. I added it to my documentation folder, sent a copy to Tyler with a brief email. Found something, call me. He called the next morning during my commute. This is good, he said without preamble. This is very good. She's hiding assets. Potentially. We'll need to be careful about how we present it. But yeah, this looks like someone preparing to file. The amounts, the timing, the consistency, this isn't random spending. Can we get it back? In the settlement? If we can prove it exists and that she withdrew it with intent to conceal, yes. Arizona is a community property state. That money is half yours regardless of which account it came from. I merged onto the highway, phone on speaker, hands tight on the wheel. What do I do? Nothing. Keep documenting. Don't mention it, don't ask about it, don't change your behavior. She doesn't know you're looking, and that's your advantage. Okay. David. Tyler's voice shifted, became more serious. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Are you doing okay? Mentally, I mean. This kind of sustained deception, playing normal while building a case, it's harder than people think. I thought about that. Was I okay? I was sleeping fine. Eating fine. Work performance hadn't slipped. I'd even coached Jacob's soccer practice last Saturday and enjoyed it. I'm fine, I said. Better than fine, actually. I have a purpose. That's what worries me. Purpose is good. Obsession is different. I'm not obsessed. You're documenting your wife's movements, tracking her finances, logging every conversation. That's pretty obsessive. It's thorough. You told me to be thorough. He sighed. I did. And you are. Just remember that there's a life after this. Don't lose yourself in the process. I thanked him and hung up. Didn't think about his warning again until later. April the 2nd. Jennifer came home from a networking event at 8:30, smelling like wine and wearing the black dress I'd always liked. She kissed my cheek, asked about the kids, poured herself water. How was it? I asked. Good. Boring, mostly. A lot of new agents asking the same questions about lead generation. I nodded, scrolling through my phone. Didn't mention that I'd called the venue, a hotel conference room downtown, and confirmed there was no real estate event scheduled that night. Didn't mention that I'd checked her location at 7:15 and she'd been at a restaurant in Scottsdale, 30 minutes away. Just smiled. Asked if she wanted to watch something together. I'm exhausted, she said. I think I'll just go to bed. She went upstairs. I heard the shower run. Waited 15 minutes, then opened my laptop and added the entry to my timeline. April 2nd, 8:30 p.m. Jennifer returns from alleged networking event. No such event at claimed location, Marriott downtown, called and confirmed. Phone location data shows presence at Dominic's Steakhouse Scottsdale, 7:15 p.m. Same restaurant where she met BK on March 22nd. Showered immediately upon return. I saved the file, backed it up to 3 different cloud services, sent a copy to Tyler's secure portal. Then I went upstairs and brushed my teeth next to my wife, who was already in bed scrolling through her phone. Probably texting Brandon, probably telling him how easy this was, how I suspected nothing. "Love you," I said, because that's what I always said. "Love you too," she replied, not looking up. I got into bed, turned off my light, lay there in the dark listening to her breathe. Tyler was wrong. I wasn't obsessed. I was just paying attention for the first time in years. The kids' spring break started April 5th. We'd planned a trip to California months ago. Disneyland, a couple days at the beach, the kind of family vacation that costs too much and creates memories. Jennifer tried to cancel it. "Work's really busy right now," she said over breakfast on April 3rd. "I've got 3 closings scheduled that week, and you've had those dates blocked off since January," I said calmly. "I checked your calendar." She blinked. "What?" "Your work calendar, the shared one. Spring break has been marked family trip since we booked it." "Right, but things change. Clients need—" "The kids are expecting it. Emily's been talking about Space Mountain for months." Jennifer set down her coffee. "David, I can't just abandon my clients. You can reschedule closings. You've done it before." We stared at each other across the kitchen table. The kids were still asleep upstairs. Morning light came through the windows, making everything look clean and normal. "Fine," she finally said. "I'll make it work." I knew why she wanted to cancel. Brandon. She didn't want to spend 5 days away from him. Didn't want to play happy family when she was already halfway out the door. But I needed this trip. Needed the photos, the documentation of me being present and engaged. Needed evidence that I was the parent who prioritized our children while she was the one trying to back out. So we went to California. All 4 of us, April 5th, 10. We rode rides and ate overpriced food and took pictures in front of Sleeping Beauty's castle. Jennifer smiled in every photo, arm around the kids, around me. Posted the best ones to Facebook with captions about quality family time. I smiled too. Took videos of Emily screaming on the roller coaster, Jacob meeting Spider-Man, Jennifer laughing at some joke I made. Documented everything. Because in a few weeks, when this all came apart, I'd need to show that I was the one who showed up. I was the one who was there. And she was the one who'd wanted to leave. The California trip was a masterclass in compartmentalization. 5 days of Disneyland, Universal Studios, and beachfront dinners where I smiled for family photos while my wife texted her lover from the bathroom. I have a particularly memorable shot from April 8th. The 4 of us on the Santa Monica Pier at sunset, Jennifer's arm around my waist, her phone in her other hand. The metadata shows she'd received a message from Brandon exactly 2 minutes before the photo was taken. Emily noticed something, I think. On our last night, while Jennifer was taking a work call on the hotel balcony, my daughter sat next to me on the bed and asked, "Is Mom okay?" She seems distracted. "Just work stress," I told her. "You know how busy she's been." Emily nodded, but she had that look, the one teenagers get when they know you're feeding them a simplified version of the truth. She didn't push it, though, just went back to her phone. I documented that conversation, too. Everything went into the file. We returned home on April 10th. Jennifer's conference in San Diego was 8 days away. Tyler had been explicit about the timeline. I needed to file the day she left for San Diego, maybe the day before. The element of surprise was crucial. If she suspected anything, she'd have time to move more assets, coordinate with Brandon, prepare her own legal response. "You file when she thinks everything is fine," Tyler had said during our last meeting, when she's texting him about hotel room service and what time his flight lands. April 11th through 17th were the longest days of my life. I went to work, came home, had dinner with the family, helped Jacob with his science project on erosion. There's an irony there I didn't appreciate at the time. Watched Jennifer pack for her conference, asking helpful questions about which blazer looked more professional. "The navy one," I said, sitting on our bed while she held 2 jackets up to the mirror. "Definitely the navy." "You think?" She studied her reflection. I was leaning toward the gray. Navy's more authoritative. You want to project confidence. She smiled at me, actually smiled, like I was her trusted advisor instead of the man preparing to detonate her life. You're right. Navy it is. I watched her fold it carefully into her carry-on, along with the black cocktail dress she'd bought 2 weeks earlier. A dress for a conference. Sure. The $27,000 still hadn't reappeared in any account I could monitor. I'd checked everywhere. Her personal checking, savings, the joint accounts, credit card advances. Nothing. She'd converted it to cash and stashed it somewhere. Tyler said not to worry about it. We had documentation of the withdrawal, and in Arizona's community property system, she'd have to account for it eventually. Hiding assets works against her, he'd explained. Judges don't like it when people try to game the system. If she can't explain where that money went, it strengthens your case for her acting in bad faith. On April 15th, I signed the divorce papers in Tyler's office. The petition for dissolution of marriage, the request for temporary orders, the parenting plan that gave me primary physical custody with Jennifer getting supervised visitation until a full custody evaluation could be completed. Supervised? I'd questioned that when Tyler first proposed it. You have documentation of her repeatedly choosing to meet her affair partner instead of being with the children, Tyler said. You have her lying about her whereabouts, missing family dinners, trying to cancel a vacation with her kids. We're not saying she's a danger. We're saying her judgment is currently compromised and the children's stability should be prioritized. I signed everything. My hand was steady. The plan was simple. Tyler would file the papers electronically on April 18th at 9 a.m., the moment Jennifer's flight to San Diego took off. By the time she landed, she'd have an email notification that documents had been filed in Maricopa County Superior Court. The process server would deliver physical copies to her at the conference hotel, which Tyler's investigator had confirmed was actually the Marriott Marquis downtown, where Brandon had a reservation under his own name for April 18th through 20th. She'll be served in the hotel lobby, Tyler said. Professional, public, documented. The server will have instructions to be discreet but firm. I tried not to think too hard about that moment. Jennifer in the lobby, probably waiting for Brandon, when a stranger approaches with an envelope. The confusion, then the recognition of what's happening. The humiliation of opening it in public, reading that her husband is filing for divorce and seeking primary custody. I tried not to think about it, but I did anyway. Late at night, lying next to her while she slept, I imagined her face. April 17th was a Wednesday. Jennifer's flight was at 9:15 the next morning. She'd already arranged for her mother to pick up the kids after school and stay with them through Friday. I was supposedly going to be slammed at work and couldn't manage the afternoon logistics. Are you sure you'll be okay? Jennifer asked over dinner that night. Spaghetti and meatballs, Jacob's favorite. I know this week is crazy for you. I'll manage, I said. It's only 2 nights. The kids will be fine with your mom. I appreciate you being flexible about this. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I know these conferences aren't ideal timing, I squeezed back. It's your career. It matters. Emily was watching us again with that evaluating look. Jacob was oblivious, building a tower out of meatballs on his plate until Jennifer told him to stop playing with his food. A normal Wednesday dinner. Completely normal. After the kids went to bed, Jennifer finished packing. I sat in the bedroom reading a book I wasn't actually processing while she moved between the closet and her suitcase. I'll probably be in sessions most of tomorrow, she said, folding a blouse. But I'll text when I can. No worries, focus on the conference. Friday night I should be free. There's a closing dinner, but it ends by 9. I knew Friday night's plan already. Tyler's investigator had forwarded me Brandon's dinner reservation. Juniper and Ivy, 8 p.m., party of 2. Sounds good, I said. She zipped the suitcase, checked her phone, smiled at whatever she saw there. Early flight, she said. I should probably get some sleep. We went to bed. She fell asleep quickly. She always did. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe. 15 years of marriage, 2 kids, a house, a life, a shared history of inside jokes and family traditions and thousands of mundane moments that had accumulated into something I'd thought was permanent. In 12 hours, it would all be over. I didn't feel sad, exactly, or angry. I felt something closer to inevitability, like watching a train approach a station, knowing exactly when it would arrive and what would happen when the doors opened. Jennifer's alarm went off at 6 a.m. She showered, dressed, came back into the bedroom smelling like her jasmine perfume, the expensive one she saved for special occasions. "You don't have to get up," she whispered. "Go back to sleep." But I got up anyway, made coffee while she double-checked her carry-on. The kids were still asleep. They didn't have school until 8:30, and Jennifer had said her goodbyes the night before. At 7:15, her Uber arrived. We stood in the entryway, her suitcase by the door, my coffee mug warm in my hands. "I'll call you when I land," she said. "Safe flight." She kissed me. A real kiss, not a perfunctory peck. When she pulled back, she was smiling. "Love you," she said. "Love you too." I watched through the window as she loaded her bag into the trunk, climbed into the back seat, pulled out her phone before the car even left the driveway. At 9 a.m., I was sitting in my office at work when my phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. "Filed. Confirmation number attached. Server en route to hotel." I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I opened my laptop and pulled up the Maricopa County Superior Court case search. There it was. Patterson vs. Patterson, case number FD 2024-3847. Filed April 18, 2024, 9:03 a.m. Petitioner, David Michael Patterson. Respondent, Jennifer Ann Patterson. I refreshed the page twice like I needed to confirm it was real. It was real. Somewhere over Nevada, Jennifer's phone was probably in airplane mode. She had no idea. She was thinking about landing in San Diego, meeting Brandon, the hotel room, the dinner reservation. She had no idea. I spent the rest of April 18th in a state of controlled chaos. Normal on the outside. I even took a conference call with a contractor about foundation issues on the Tempe project. But inside, every nerve ending felt like it was vibrating at a frequency just below audible. Tyler had texted me at 11:47 a.m. Server confirms visual contact, proceeding. Then nothing for 3 hours. I picked up Jacob from school at 3:15. He wanted to stop for ice cream. We did. I watched him eat a chocolate cone and tell me about some complicated drama involving trading cards at recess, and the whole time I kept checking my phone under the table. "Dad, are you even listening?" "Trading cards," I said. "Someone tried to trade you a holographic for 3 commons." "That was like 5 minutes ago." "Sorry, buddy. Work stuff." He accepted this. Kids always do. Work stuff is the universal parental excuse, the catch-all explanation for distraction, absence, irritability. Jennifer had used it constantly over the past months. Now I understood why. Tyler called at 4:32 p.m. while I was helping Jacob with math homework. "She's been served," he said. "Clean delivery, no issues." My hand tightened on the phone. "And?" "Server said she was with a male companion matching the description you provided. They were in the hotel restaurant." She opened the envelope, read the first page, and according to our guy, went completely white. Male companion tried to see the documents. She wouldn't let him. She left the restaurant. He followed. "That's all we've got." "Good," I said. The word came out flat. "David, I need you to stay calm and stay the course. Don't call her. Don't text her. Don't engage if she reaches out. Everything goes through me now. Understood?" "Understood." "I mean it. The worst thing you can do right now is break the pattern. You've been patient this long. Stay patient." After we hung up, I sat there looking at Jacob's math worksheet. Problem number 7. If train A leaves the station at 60 mph and train B leaves 2 hours later at 80 mph, when will train B catch up to train A? I wanted to write, train B never catches up because train A saw it coming and changed tracks. Jennifer called at 6:18 p.m. I was making dinner, spaghetti and meatballs, Jacob's favorite. I let it go to voicemail. She called again at 6:22, again at 6:29. Then, texts started coming through. We need to talk. David, pick up the phone. This is insane. You can't just call me. I blocked her number and finished making dinner. Emily came down at 6:45, earbuds in, and set the table without being asked. We ate together, the three of us. Normal Wednesday night. I asked Emily about her English project. She said it was fine. Jacob talked about the trading cards again, a different angle on the same story. I nodded and asked questions and refilled water glasses. This is what primary custody looks like, I thought. This right here. Dinner made, homework supervised, questions asked, presence maintained. My blocked number didn't stop Jennifer from trying other methods. At 7:03 p.m., a call came from a number I didn't recognize. San Diego area code. I declined it. Another unknown number at 7:17. Then an email at 7:34, subject line. Urgent, call me. I deleted it without reading. Tyler had said don't engage. So I didn't engage. Emily went to her room after dinner. Jacob and I played 2 rounds of his favorite card game, something involving wizards and spell casting that I'd never fully understood the rules to, but he was patient about explaining. At 8:30, I sent him upstairs to shower and get ready for bed. I was loading the dishwasher when my phone rang again. This time, it was Tyler. She's hired someone, he said. Got a call 20 minutes ago from Patricia Weston. She's good, expensive. This isn't going to be easy. I didn't think it would be. Weston's already making noise about the filing being retaliatory and deliberately humiliating, serving her out of state, in public, while she was on a business trip. She's going to paint you as vindictive. Business trip, I said. Right. I know. But that's the play. She's also claiming you've been monitoring her communications without consent, which, depending on how we present the phone thing, could be a problem. The messages forwarded automatically, setup we both agreed to years ago. I know. We'll handle it. But David, this is going to get ugly. Weston doesn't settle easy. She's going to push for 50-50 custody minimum, possibly primary, if she can build a case that you're unstable or controlling. I closed the dishwasher. I've got 4 months of documentation showing Jennifer's absences, lies, and neglect of parenting responsibilities. I've got evidence of hidden assets. I've got her own text messages showing she planned to leave once the financial situation was sorted out, meaning once she'd secured her position. What does Weston have? A sympathetic narrative about a woman whose husband spied on her and ambushed her with divorce papers in a public place as punishment for wanting to leave an unhappy marriage. The affair? Arizona is a no-fault state. The affair is legally irrelevant to the divorce itself. It only matters for custody if we can prove it affected her parenting. That's what your documentation is for. But Weston's going to argue that you're using the kids as weapons. That you filed for primary custody not because you're the better parent, but because you're angry and want to hurt her. I leaned against the counter. So what do we do? Exactly what we've been doing. Stay consistent. Maintain normalcy. Document everything. And for God's sake, don't give Weston ammunition. No angry texts, no confrontations, no keeping the kids from their mother. When she comes back from San Diego, you let her see them. You be reasonable, cooperative, and calm. You be the stable parent. When does she come back? Flight's scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. She'll be back in Phoenix by evening. Less than 24 hours. I'd known this was coming, had planned for it even, but the reality of it sat in my chest like a stone. What do I tell the kids? That's up to you, Tyler said. But my advice? Keep it simple. Mom and Dad are having some grown-up problems. We're working through it. Nobody's fault. You both love them. Don't badmouth her. Don't offer details they don't ask for. And if they do ask for details, keep it age-appropriate and factual. After we hung up, I went upstairs and said goodnight to Jacob. He was already half asleep, his room smelling like soap and clean laundry. I kissed his forehead. He mumbled something about tomorrow's spelling test. Emily's light was still on. I knocked. Yeah? I opened the door. She was sitting on her bed with her laptop, probably on social media or watching videos. She looked up at me with an expression I couldn't quite read, Everything okay? I asked. Is Mom coming home tomorrow? The question hit me harder than it should have. Yeah, tomorrow evening. Okay. She looked back at her screen. Em? What? If you want to talk about anything, anything at all, I'm here. You know that, right? She nodded without looking up. I know. I stood there another moment, wanting to say more, but Tyler's advice echoed in my head. Simple. Age-appropriate. Factual. Good night, sweetheart. Night. I closed her door and went back downstairs. The house was quiet. Clean kitchen, homework done, kids in bed, all the normal markers of a normal evening. I sat on the couch and finally let myself check my email. Jennifer's message was still in the trash folder. I opened it. David, I don't know what you think you're doing, but we need to talk about this like adults. You can't just ambush me with divorce papers and expect me to. I deleted it again and emptied the trash. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. This time I answered. Stop calling, I said. David. Jennifer's voice, strained and unfamiliar. David, please, just listen. Talk to my attorney, I said, and hung up. I blocked that number too. Then I sat there in my living room, in my house, with my kids asleep upstairs, and waited for whatever came next. Epilogue. Jennifer came back to Phoenix on April 19th, but she didn't come home. She went to her mother's house instead. Tyler had advised me to expect this. She needs time to regroup, consult with her attorney, figure out her next move. What I didn't expect was the email from Patricia Weston that arrived at 11:47 p.m. that same night, formally requesting a temporary parenting schedule that would give Jennifer the kids every other weekend starting immediately. Immediately became a battle that lasted 6 weeks. The temporary orders hearing was set for May 3rd. In the meantime, Jennifer and I existed in a strange limbo. She'd text to ask about seeing the kids. I'd agree to reasonable times. She'd show up at the house and sit in the driveway waiting for them to come out. She never came inside. I never invited her. The kids handled it the way kids handle most incomprehensible adult disasters. Emily retreated into silence and spent hours in her room, while Jacob asked questions I couldn't fully answer. Why doesn't Mom live here anymore? Did you guys have a fight? Is it my fault? That last one nearly broke me. I sat him down on his bed, looked him in the eyes and said, none of this is your fault. Not even a little bit. Sometimes grown-ups make choices that change things, but those are our choices, not yours. Your mom and I both love you completely. That will never change. He seemed to accept this, the way 10-year-olds accept things they don't fully understand. Emily was harder to read. She'd figured out more than I'd told her, probably pieced it together from overheard phone calls and the general atmosphere of controlled crisis. One night she asked me directly, did Mom cheat on you? I could have lied, could have deflected. Instead, I said, your mom made some choices that hurt our marriage, but that's between her and me. It doesn't change how she feels about you. That's not what I asked. Smart kid, too smart. Yeah, I said. She did. Emily nodded once, then went back to her room. We didn't discuss it again. The temporary orders hearing was everything Tyler had promised it would be. Ugly, adversarial, and exhausting. Patricia Weston presented Jennifer as a devoted mother being punished by a controlling husband who'd violated her privacy and weaponized the children. She glossed over the affair entirely, focusing instead on my surveillance of Jennifer's phone and my calculated humiliation of serving her in a public place. Tyler countered with my documentation, 4 months of detailed logs showing Jennifer's absences, her lies about her whereabouts, her prioritization of her affair over family obligations. He presented the evidence of hidden assets. The $27,000 in cash withdrawals Jennifer still couldn't adequately explain. He showed the text messages where she'd discussed leaving once the financial situation was resolved. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Barbara Clement, listened to everything with an expression that gave away nothing. At the end of the 3-hour hearing, she issued her ruling. Temporary primary physical custody to me. with Jennifer getting the kids every other weekend and one evening per week for dinner. She also ordered a full custody evaluation to be completed within 90 days, and she froze all joint accounts pending the financial discovery process. Jennifer cried when the ruling was read. I watched her from across the courtroom and felt nothing. The custody evaluation took 4 months, not 3. A psychologist named Dr. Raymond Ellis interviewed both of us separately, interviewed the kids, visited both homes, reviewed all the documentation. His report, filed in August, ran to 47 pages. The conclusion? While both parents demonstrate love and concern for the minor children, the evidence suggests that Mr. Patterson has been the more consistent primary caregiver over the past year. Ms. Patterson's pattern of absences and misrepresentations about her whereabouts, while not rising to the level of neglect, do raise concerns about judgment and prioritization. It is this evaluator's recommendation that primary physical custody remain with Mr. Patterson, with a gradual expansion of Ms. Patterson's parenting time as stability is demonstrated. We settled 3 weeks later. Jennifer got the kids every other weekend, alternating holidays, and 4 weeks in the summer. I got primary physical custody, the house, and my retirement accounts. We split the other assets 50-50, except for the $27,000 Jennifer had withdrawn. The judge ordered her to account for it or have it deducted from her share of the settlement. She claimed she'd used it for business expenses she could no longer document. Nobody believed her, but it didn't matter. The money came out of her end. The divorce was finalized on September 12, 2024, exactly 6 months after I'd discovered those first text messages. We signed the papers in our respective attorneys' offices and never saw each other. Tyler called me afterward to confirm it was done. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Tired," I said. And I was. Bone-deep exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. That's normal. Give it time. Brandon Kaplan and Jennifer lasted about 4 months after the divorce filing. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he'd ended it sometime in August. Apparently, the reality of dating a woman going through a contentious divorce with 2 kids was less appealing than the fantasy of an affair. Jennifer moved into a condo in Tempe. She showed up for her parenting time, mostly on schedule, mostly sober. We communicated through a co-parenting app that time-stamped everything and kept a record. Professional, distant, necessary. Emily started seeing a therapist in June. It helped, I think. She talked to me more, at least. Told me about school, about her friends, about the college she wanted to visit even though she was only 14. We were rebuilding something, slowly. Jacob seemed to bounce back faster, the way younger kids sometimes do. He still asked about Jennifer, still wanted to know when she was coming to his games. I never badmouthed her to him, never tried to turn him against her. That was a line I wouldn't cross, no matter what she'd done. It's been 18 months now since that March morning when I discovered the messages. I'm sitting in my office, the same office where I built the case that ended my marriage, writing this account because Tyler suggested it might help. Closure, he called it. I'm not sure I believe in closure. I think some things just become part of your history, scars that fade, but never fully disappear. People ask me sometimes if I regret how I handled it. If I wish I'd confronted Jennifer immediately, tried counseling, fought for the marriage instead of documenting its end. The answer is no. By the time I found those messages, the marriage was already over. I just hadn't known it yet. Jennifer had made her choice months earlier. I simply ensured that her choice came with consequences. Would I do it differently if I could go back? Maybe I would have paid more attention earlier. Noticed the signs I'd ignored. Asked harder questions when she started pulling away. But once I knew the truth, once I understood what she'd been doing, I wouldn't change a single decision I made. The documentation, the patience, the strategic planning, it protected my children and ensured I could still be their primary parent. That was worth every uncomfortable dinner, every night lying next to someone I no longer knew, every moment of pretending everything was fine. Emily asked me last week if I'd ever get married again. We were driving to her track meet, just the 2 of us, and the question came out of nowhere. I don't know, I told her honestly. Maybe someday. Why? Just wondering if you still believe in it. Marriage, I mean. I thought about that. Did I still believe in marriage? In the promises people make to each other, the vows that are supposed to mean something? I believe in it when both people mean it, I said finally. When they're both committed to showing up, telling the truth, doing the work. Your mom and I, we stopped meaning it. Or she did. And once that happens, the promises don't matter anymore. Emily nodded, processing this. That's kind of sad. Yeah, I agreed. It is. But here's what I've learned. What I'd tell anyone going through something similar. Betrayal doesn't have to destroy you. It can clarify instead. It can show you who people really are when they think no one's watching. It can teach you that trust is earned, not assumed. That documentation is more powerful than confrontation. That patience and planning beat impulsive anger every single time. Jennifer taught me that I'd been sleepwalking through my own life, assuming that showing up was the same as being present. She taught me that people can lie to your face with perfect sincerity. That love, or what passes for it, can coexist with profound selfishness. But she also taught me what I'm capable of when pushed. The clarity I can find in crisis. The strength I didn't know I had. My kids are okay, not perfect. Emily still has hard days and Jacob still asks questions that hurt to answer. But okay. They know I'm here. They know I'll show up. They know that when I make a promise, I keep it. That's the real victory, I think. Not the custody arrangement or the financial settlement or the satisfaction of watching Jennifer's affair implode. The victory is that my kids are stable, safe, and certain of at least one parent's commitment. As for Jennifer, I don't hate her. I don't think about her much at all anymore, except when logistics require it. She's become what she probably always was beneath the surface. Someone I used to know. Someone who taught me important lessons about trust, verification, and the difference between the two. The last thing Tyler told me when the divorce was finalized was this. Don't let this make you cynical. Don't let it poison your ability to trust people. What happened with Jennifer was about her choices, not about the fundamental nature of relationships. I'm trying to take that advice. Some days are easier than others. But I'll tell you what I do believe now. What I know for certain. You can survive betrayal. You can document it, strategize around it, and come out the other side with your integrity intact. You can protect what matters, your children, your dignity, your future, if you're willing to be patient and methodical instead of reactive. Jennifer wanted to leave our marriage on her terms, with her financial safety net secured and her new relationship ready to step into. Instead, she lost primary custody of her children, half of the money she'd tried to hide, and the man she'd risked everything for. I'm not proud of the satisfaction I felt when I learned Brandon had ended it. That's probably not my best self. But I'm human, and humans feel what they feel. What I am proud of is this. I showed up for my kids every single day through the worst 6 months of our lives. I kept them fed, helped with homework, drove them to practices, attended their events. I didn't fall apart. I didn't rage or spiral or make them carry the weight of adult problems. I was the stable parent, the one who stayed. And in the end, that's what mattered. If there's a moral to this story, it's not about revenge or justice or making people pay for their choices. It's simpler than that. When everything falls apart, the only thing you can control is yourself, your response, your choices, your integrity. Jennifer made her choices. I made mine. I can live with mine. I hope, for her sake and our children's, she can eventually live with hers. The story of my marriage's ending isn't a happy one, but it's not entirely sad either. It's simply true. Real life doesn't wrap up neatly with lessons learned and everyone becoming better people. Sometimes people just make selfish choices that hurt others. Sometimes marriages end not with mutual understanding but with betrayal and lawyers and custody schedules. But life continues. Emily's in high school now, talking about colleges and career paths. Jacob just made the travel soccer team. I got promoted at work. We have routines, traditions, inside jokes. We're building a different life than the one I'd planned, but it's a good life. An honest one. And maybe that's the real lesson. Honesty matters more than happiness. Integrity matters more than comfort. Showing up matters more than grand gestures. Jennifer showed me who she really was when she thought I wasn't paying attention. I showed my children who I really am when everything fell apart. In the end, that's all any of us can do. Be who we are, make our choices, and live with the consequences. I'm at peace with mine.